The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Oh, it was everywhere. You literally couldn't escape it.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we have a massive one to unpack.
We really do. The headline we're building today's deep dive around is Aubrey Plaza's secret pregnancy, the romance nobody knew about until now.
Which is just a wild concept in today's media landscape. Like, nobody knew.
Right, because when Aubrey Plaza told Seth Meyers she was pregnant, she didn't use, soft, golden hour lighting. She didn't post a sentimental, highly curated Instagram photo holding a tiny pair of knit shoes.
Not at all.
She used deadpan hostility. And the internet absolutely lost its mind.
It really did. It completely broke the mold of how these things are usually handled.
Exactly. So today, we're taking a massive stack of sources to figure this out. We've got entertainment reports from Newsweek, Elite Daily, and Jezebel. We pulled industry updates from The Playlist, a film review from Snack Mag, and one intensely debated, highly detailed internet sleuth thread from Reddit.
Which is a whole situation on its own.
Oh, we will get there. But we want to figure out how an indie thriller, an off-Broadway play, and a devastatingly tragic timeline collided into the most heavily scrutinized pregnancy in Hollywood.
It really is a story that operates on so many different levels. I mean, we have two actors operating at the absolute peak of their creative careers, a romance that seemed to materialize out of thin air, and a public reaction that forces us to really examine how society processes grief, privacy, and, parasocial relationships in the digital age.
Exactly. So our mission today is to extract the facts of their relationship, break down their booming careers, and analyze that intense public scrutiny. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Starting with how the world actually found out. Because if you follow Aubrey Plaza's career at all, she has spent the last decade perfecting a very specific public persona.
Right. She is the queen of discomfort.
She really is. And the traditional celebrity pregnancy announcement is, well, it's almost its own distinct genre of PR at this point, right?
Totally. It's highly sanitized, usually very sentimental, and incredibly managed to project this, perfect domestic bliss.
Yeah.
But Plaza completely subverted that expectation. She weaponized her own established weirdness to drop this massive life-altering news.
So she's sitting on late night with Seth Meyers to promote her new animated series, Kevin. And Seth, who, has interviewed her a million times and knows her rhythm, he very gently asks if it's safe to assume she is with child.
He being so careful.
So careful. And Plaza doesn't smile. She
Yeah.
doesn't blush. She immediately hits him with this aggressive, deadpan delivery. She glares and says, "How dare you ask a woman that?"
The tension in the room in that split second is palpable. I mean, it's brilliant misdirection.
Right. And then, without missing a single beat, she drops the act just enough to say, "No, you're right. There's something inside. It's a baby."
Just the phrasing, "there's something inside," is so her.
It's amazing. And she didn't stop there. She told Seth she might need him to literally pull it out, joking that it was going to be either him or Henry Winkler in the delivery room.
Because Winkler delivered her character's baby on Parks and Recreation.
Yes, exactly. And taking that a step further, look at how she followed it up on the SmartLess podcast.
Oh, the ultrasound comment.
Yes. She casually equated getting her baby's ultrasound to her dog getting a stomach scan at the vet on the exact same day.
Which is just wild.
And she even threw in this bizarre visual, joking that the baby already has a cloak and a little hat.
A fetal cloak.
A fetal cloak, which is just such an absurd, distinctly Aubrey Plaza image.
It really is. But what's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism of this humor. It's not just a joke, it's a shield. Both she and Christopher Abbott are using humor and career deflections as armor.
Right, to actively control the narrative.
Exactly. We saw the exact same strategy from Abbott. When he appeared on the Today Show with Jenna Bush Hager, she cheerfully congratulated him on expecting a baby, and he completely deflected.
He didn't even acknowledge the baby at first.
Not at all.
He just completely deadpanned and joked that he thought the congratulations were for his Tony nomination.
And I'd argue it's not even a deflection, It's a direct challenge to the media's priorities.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, by bringing up the Tony nomination, Abbott is reminding the public of why they know him in the first place. His art, not his biology. I mean, he is starring on Broadway in Death of a Salesman alongside Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf.
Which is huge.
It is a monumental career achievement.
And Plaza is at a similar career peak, too. According to the playlist, she is slated to star in Kenneth Lonergan's highly anticipated first film in a decade. It's called Tomorrow is a Drag.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be shooting in New York this fall alongside Adam Driver and Vanessa Kirby. I mean, that is prestige Cannes-level cinema.
So you have two actors operating at the absolute highest levels of their craft. By leaning into their eccentricities and pivoting every conversation back to their work, they keep the focus off their vulnerability. It's a highly effective PR strategy to maintain strict boundaries between public consumption and private reality.
It's like a magician's misdirection. They wave the shiny Tony nomination or drop a bizarre deadpan joke about a baby in a cloak so you don't look too closely at the very real, very personal life transition happening behind the curtain.
That's exactly what it is.
But I have to push back a little here. Doesn't this extreme deflection actually make the public more curious? I mean, when you refuse to give the standard sentimental PR narrative, doesn't it just invite people to dig deeper?
That is the ultimate paradox of fame, and you've hit on the exact reason the story exploded.
Yeah.
The harder you pull the curtain shut, the more desperate people become to peek behind it. The Streisand effect applies to privacy, too. By refusing to play the traditional celebrity game, they inadvertently turn their relationship into a mystery that the internet felt compelled to solve.
And solve it. They tried. We are going to trace the breadcrumbs of this romance to figure out how we actually got here. Because if you look at the timeline, the spark between these two wasn't a standard Hollywood meet-cute at a Vanity Fair party.
Far from it.
And that's not even the wildest part, because this relationship was forged in some intensely dark, psychologically demanding creative spaces.
It really was.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Okay, so let's look back at their creative history. According to our sources, they first worked together in the 2020 indie thriller Black Bear.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah, and the Snack Mag review of this film paints a very vivid, very claustrophobic picture. It's set at a remote lake house and features a toxic, chaotic, and magnetic dynamic.
Oh, wow.
The review describes the plot as a calculated game of desire and jealousy in the pursuit of art, specifically noting how the film intentionally blurs the boundaries between autobiography and invention.
That phrase from the review, blurring the boundaries between autobiography and invention, is crucial to understanding how on-set romances develop.
How so?
Well, when actors inhabit roles that require a high level of psychological manipulation and raw vulnerability, the emotional bleed into real life can be profound. There is a psychological concept called the misattribution of arousal.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means your brain experiences the intense adrenaline, the high stakes, and the emotional exhaustion of a scene, and it often confuses that physiological state with romantic passion for the person standing opposite you.
So they were essentially playing out an intense, volatile dynamic in an isolated environment, and their brains couldn't entirely separate the fiction from the reality.
Precisely, and that was just the baseline. They reunited in late 2023 and early 2024 for the off-Broadway play Danny and the Deep Blue Sea.
Now, this wasn't just a casual co-starring gig where they occasionally bumped into each other at the craft services table.
No, not at all.
This was a two-hander, meaning Plaza and Abbott were the only two actors on stage. They were performing this incredibly heavy text 8 shows a week.
That is exhausting.
And the production even featured a highly choreographed Apache dance. For context, an Apache dance is a highly aggressive, physically demanding, emotionally volatile style of Parisian street dance that simulates a violent romantic argument. And they were doing this over and over, every single night.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains so much about their bond. It's like deep-sea diving.
Okay, I like this analogy.
When you're performing a traumatic two-person play like that, you are emotionally descending to a depth where no one else can survive the pressure but your co-star. You are sharing an emotional frequency that your friends, your family, and your spouses outside of that production cannot truly understand.
That is a fascinating way to look at it.
And the danger of deep-sea diving is the ascent. Coming back to the surface to normal, everyday life often causes emotional bends. The transition from that insular bubble back to reality is incredibly jarring, and very often, the only person who can anchor you is the person who is down in the depths with you.
Wow. And the bubble eventually floated off stage. The rumors of their relationship really started gaining traction in the summer of 2025.
Right, the farm sighting.
Yeah, entertainment outlets reported a hard launch of sorts when they were spotted getting very cozy at Chathamberry Farm in upstate New York. sitting closely and rubbing each other's backs.
Very cozy.
And then, by February 2026, they made it undeniable. They were sitting front row together at Coty's New York Fashion Week show.
Which is a very deliberate public statement in the fashion and entertainment world. You don't sit front row at NYFW together unless you have cleared it with both of your publicists and you are ready to be perceived, photographed, and written about as a unified entity.
It was the softest of hard launches. But this strategy of using humor as armor and slowly rolling out their relationship at fashion shows only works if the audience is willing to play along.
And they weren't.
No. As we saw in the winter of 2024 and early 2025, a massive corner of the internet wasn't playing along. They were investigating.
Because while this might sound like a quirky indie romance born out of artistic collaboration, there is a profound shadow looming over this timeline.
Yes. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming regarding the timeline of this whole thing. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because this timeline gets complicated.
It really does. We need to shift to the complex and heavily scrutinized timeline that explains why the internet reacted so aggressively to this pregnancy news.
And I want to pause and be crystal clear here.
Yeah.
We are looking at these Reddit threads today, not because they represent the objective truth of their marriage, they don't, but because they represent a fascinating, somewhat terrifying phenomenon of how the internet processes a stranger's grief.
That framing is vital. We are analyzing the sociology of the public reaction, drawing directly from the sources provided to understand why people felt entitled to dissect a real-life tragedy.
And we are not taking sides, we are not endorsing these Reddit theories of infidelity, and we are absolutely not judging the timeline. We are simply reporting on the immense public discourse and the factual timeline provided in the sources.
Exactly.
So here's the factual tragic context. Aubrey Plaza was with director and screenwriter Jeff Bunna for over a decade. They married in 2021. Tragically, Benina died by suicide on January 3, 2025.
It is a devastating loss. And almost immediately, the public, specifically amateur sleuth communities on platforms like Reddit, began trying to piece together a timeline.
Yeah, they were desperately trying to make sense of something that is inherently senseless.
Exactly.
According to a highly detailed, massively viral Reddit thread referenced in our sources, these internet sleuths mapped out a very specific sequence of events using public records, interviews, and medical examiner reports.
They really dug into it.
They did. They pointed out that Plaza and Benina experienced marital difficulties precisely around the time Plaza relocated to New York for the 11-week run of Danny in the Deep Blue Sea with Abbott in late 2023 to early 2024.
The geographic distance, combined with the emotional intensity of the play we just discussed, was highlighted by these amateur investigators as the alleged catalyst for the rift in the marriage.
The Reddit timeline continues, detailing that medical examiner reports confirm Plaza and Benina privately separated in September 2024.
Which is just a few months later.
Right, and just a month after that, in October 2024, the timeline notes that Benina's mental health began to spiral, leading Plaza to call in a welfare check after he made concerning remarks.
Oh, that's just so sad.
And then the ultimate tragedy on January 3, 2025, where the medical reports show Benina sent a final text message to Plaza at 10:36 a.m., just 3 hours before he was found.
It is a profoundly sad, deeply intimate sequence of events. But this raises an important question. Why did the internet feel compelled to arrange these specific data points into a weapon?
That's the real question here.
The Reddit theorists use this timeline to build a narrative of infidelity and abandonment. They suggested that the new life with Abbott was established while Benina was spiraling.
Wait, let's pause there. So they took a welfare check in October, the tragic reality of his death in January, and somehow bridged that to an off-Broadway play from 10 months prior, presenting it as a direct line of cause and effect.
Exactly, and that is the danger of parasocial sleuthing. Human beings are terrified of chaos.
Yeah.
When a tragedy like a suicide occurs, it reminds us how fragile and unpredictable life is. To cope with that terror, the internet builds timelines. If they can point to a play in New York, a separation date, and a sighting at a berry farm 6 months later, they can draw straight lines between them.
Because it's easier to process.
Right. They invent a clean narrative of cause and effect because it makes the tragedy feel preventable or explainable.
But creating clinical, detached internet timelines fundamentally strips away the complex reality of human emotion. Grief doesn't move in a straight line, and the breakdown of a decade-long relationship is never as simple as a list of dates on a message board.
Furthermore, the public often demands a performative, culturally appropriate mourning period from celebrities. They expect a widow to wear black and retreat from public life for a specified amount of time.
Which is so unfair.
It is. And when a celebrity deviates from that expected script by finding new love, continuing their career, or getting pregnant, the public backlash is fierce because it shatters the illusion of the narrative the internet has constructed.
Plaza herself actually addressed the messy, overwhelming nature of her grief on Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast in August 2025.
I remember listening to that.
It's one of the few times she dropped the deadpan armor. She described her grief not as a timeline or a series of events, but as a giant ocean of just awfulness that is always right there.
That's a powerful way to describe it.
She said sometimes she wants to dive into it, and sometimes she tries to desperately swim away from it, but it never leaves.
Her description is so raw and accurate to the true grieving process, it completely defies the neat, clean, forensic narrative the Reddit sleuths were trying to force onto her life.
It really does.
It's a reminder that beneath the Tony nominations, the fashion shows, and the late-night talk show jokes, these are real people navigating an unimaginable loss.
It really makes you step back and look at our own consumption habits. Have you ever found yourself doing that, like judging a stranger's life choices based on a fragmented social media timeline?
I think we all have at some point.
It is so incredibly easy to forget the real human weight behind sensational headlines. We see a quirky pregnancy announcement on one screen, a tragic death on another, and our brains desperately want to link them into a cohesive story of villains and victims. But life is rarely that simple.
And that's really the core insight of this entire deep dive. There is a massive tension between the public's desire for a simple, dramatic narrative and the messy, often painful reality of the people actually living it.
Absolutely.
Plaza and Abbott are using humor, deadpan hostility, and a relentless focus on their artistic work as a shield against a public that feels entirely entitled to consume their pain.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We started with a wildly unexpected, aggressive pregnancy announcement on late-night TV, a masterclass in weaponized weirdness.
It truly was.
We traced the psychological breadcrumbs of Plaza and Abbott's relationship back to the intense claustrophobic creative spaces of Black Bear and the emotional depths of Danny and the Deep Blue Sea.
The deep sea diving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, we navigated the incredibly tragic loss of Jeff Baena, unpacking the sociology behind how internet sleuths weaponized a timeline of grief, separation, and new beginnings.
It's a stark reminder of how public perception and private reality often exist in two completely different universes, and how the internet's demand for transparency often destroys the very humanity it's trying to uncover.
Before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've spent a lot of time analyzing the internet sleuths and the digital timelines. But think about the child at the center of this story.
Wow. It's something we rarely consider when we engage in this kind of celebrity discourse.
Yeah, how does the absolute permanence of the digital age impact that child? We are living in an era where there is no longer such a thing as family privacy.
That's chilling, honestly.
Right, with every granular detail of their parents' career timeline, the specific context of their conception, and a deeply tragic, highly publicized death, endlessly archived, debated, and analyzed by strangers on Reddit. How will this child eventually navigate their own family history when the internet never, ever forgets?
They will have to inherit a narrative that was written by thousands of strangers before they were even born.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.